Hello, everyone. Good evening, and welcome again to our monthly webinars. My name is Dr. Monica Gilbert. I'm a board certified behavior analyst, and I'm also a licensed psychologist in Florida. And today I have my colleague and our BCBA who's opening up our West Palm Beach location, Mercy here. Mercy, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Mercy, and I'm a BCBA. I'm really excited to be a part of this journey, starting up the new location and being able to service West Palm.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being part of this with me today, Mercy. And today we're going to talk about summer structure, preventing regression in autism and ADHD. For those of you who are coming in, again, these are our monthly, if this is your first webinar, we do these once a month just to provide added resources, answer any questions you have. I'm very vigilant of the chat we have here. So if you guys have any questions, just put it on the chat and we can have a dialogue, which is really how these, webinars work best. So let's get started. Before we start with the content, just wanted to let you guys know about the services that we provide. So at Crystal Minds New Beginning and Crystal Mind Psychological Service, we do ABA therapy for preteens, adults, children, everyone. And we also have social skills. We have various social skills on weekends. We do adult social groups as well and preteen social groups in our Doral and Pines location. We also have mental health services, so consultations with me, consultations with our other psychologists, and psychological and psychoeducational assessments, as well as parent coaching and school consultations. If you guys have any questions about that, you can always send me a message, an email, or put it on the chat. All right, so let's talk a little bit about why summer structure matters. So, Mercy, what do you think about this? Like, why is it important for us to keep some type of structure in the summer?
Well, most importantly, because summer's short.
Yeah.
And, if we
And I feel
don't
like this summer has been like shorter. I don't know where the summer went.
Yes, time is flying by. So, because it's so short, we don't want our little ones to get used to not having a schedule, and then it's gonna be even harder to get back to school. And most of the time, they don't want to go to school. So it's like schedule, school, then picking them up, bedtime.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why I wanted to do this training before school starts because we're still like with time to do this, to make these little tweaks and changes. So
Yes.
children with autism and ADHD thrive on routines. We know that. And sometimes a lack of structure can lead to regression in communication and behavior and independence. So all of those like hard things that we worked on during the school year, we don't want them to have a regression on that. That's why, for example, in our Doral location and our Pines location, we have a summer camp. And although it is fun, we go on field trips, we go to the zoo, we go here, we go there. We also work on these communication skills. We also work on the same skills that we were working on during the entire year because we need to maintain that continuum. What I always tell parents, because oftentimes, I don't know, Mercy, if you've heard parents say this, but they say things like, well, I want my child to just like have, like a chilled, couple months. I want them to just have like a calm couple months. And what I always tell parents is your child is always learning. Like it's not like they just turn off that learning switch and they're like, just let me chill. Like people are constantly learning, and then it's up to you what they're going to learn.
Correct. Yeah, and routine is important not just for children, like for everyone.
Yes. Yeah.
That's how you
Yeah.
can stay consistent with anything that you're doing. That's how you're gonna see the best result as well. So having that routine that you follow and you stick with, even if you leave wiggle room for other things or for it not to be so structured and strict, it's still a routine that you're following.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's funny because I live in Miramar and I drive like 3 times a week to our Doral location. And when summer started, I went to Doral and I'm there in the Palmetto and there's like no traffic, right? And obviously I was happy because there's no traffic. I'm going all the way to Doral, but I felt weird. I'm like, I'm not used to this. Like this is outside of like what I'm used to, right? So
Yeah.
even that, even if it's something good, right? It still like gave me that feeling of like, wait, there's something weird here. It kind of knocked me, back for a bit.
Yeah.
So
And then,
definitely what you said is true. Adults need structure too.
yeah, and then your schedule changes too. Then it's like, okay, there's no traffic. Like I could leave my house a little later now.
That is true. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happened. And then ABA strategies help maintain progress during summer months. Again, this is why we have the summer groups. This is why we continue to provide services during the summer. Some of the common struggles or challenges with summer is that we have disruptions in routines. People go on vacation. There's different things that happen. Fewer learning opportunities. I think just naturally this happens because school is out as well. Some increase in problem behaviors with the kiddos that you've worked with. Mercy, have you seen this? Some increases in problem behaviors?
Yes, of course. And sometimes we know it's gonna happen, like if it happened last summer, then we can better prep for it.
Hmm.
But that's that's my assumption on why it happens is because of the big change in routine. So the little ones are like, oh, I want attention. I want something needs to be given to me.
Absolutely, yeah. And then we see regression in communication and social skills because again, if kids are now kept at home and they're not socializing, they're not going out there, they're not practicing social skills, we're going to see that. And we saw a lot of that regression, for example, with quarantine.
Mhm.
Kids were kept in the house, they weren't out, and then even us as adults, then when we went outside, we were like, how do we adult? Like how do we speak? And it happens, right? So we constantly have to practice our skills.
Yes.
There's a question here in the question box. By the way, guys, keep the questions coming. Love the questions. So, why do children with autism and ADHD need more structure during the summer? So, this is I think a great question. And so when we think about autism, right, sometimes there is this feeling of overwhelm or this anxiety that comes about with disruptions in routines, or even when you're going from one task to the other, even when they prefer things. So having a structure allows that predictability. Now the child understands what's going to happen next, and there's less anxiety. Because when you think of anxiety, it's that anticipation of probable bad things that are going to happen. So if we already have a schedule, it kind of removes some of that. And then when we take a look at ADHD, we know that oftentimes there is this difficulty with pragmatic or also, making choices or focusing and things like that. So this relieves a lot of that choice fatigue, which is exactly what it sounds like, right? There's more predictability. I don't have to like guess and think what's going to happen next. And this helps altogether. So I don't know if you have anything else you want to share about that, about why it's so
Ana,
important for
trabaja, no, pero
autism.
no tengo que escuchar. Bueno, me dice que funciona. No está, le estamos dando agüita al perrito. Ajá. Y entonces me
This
dice,
happens all the
¿quién me
time.
mete trabajo? Y le dije, no repitas eso, por favor. Ah,
I,
coño,
I'm just gonna mute you
¿verdad?
guys just so there's no outside noise. But Mercy, so what do you think about that? I'm sorry, Mercy, I actually
Oh,
muted you by mistake. There you go.
oh, sorry about that. So I like to also think of it like it's not so much like, okay, this is happening because there's a diagnosis in the middle. I think in general, there should be a schedule that is maintained, like we have our daily activities that we have to like, kind of check off in our day as adults. So we want to teach that to our little ones as well. Not even so much because they're autistic or have ADHD, but because they're going to be adults one day too. And they should have these skills. They should be able to follow a routine, be okay if there's some sort of change in their routine, like something like school and not no school, like us with traffic, no traffic. Now we're like, okay, I could leave a little later, then traffic starts again, and you're like, okay, now I need to start leaving and waking up earlier.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yes, and you're absolutely right. At the end of the day, diagnosis is just diagnosis, but we focus more on the behaviors at hand. So here we have and this is an example of a visual schedule, but again, this could be a visual schedule, a calendar can be a visual schedule, something written can be a visual schedule. So it doesn't necessarily have to be with these little pictures, because this also works for adults and for teens. So a visual schedule hacks, you want to use a printable visual strip, laminated or magnetic, include preferred and non-preferred activities. So usually when I have my ABA sessions either at home or in the clinic with our kiddos, I like to do something where we're taking turns, right? So these are all the things that we're going to do today. Now let's take turns in putting them in order. And then they get to pick one thing, I get to pick the other. Obviously, everything they pick is like fun. And I'm like, well, let's do reading, let's do this. And we're able to put it together. And it's incredible how much more motivated they are to really do that schedule when they feel a part of putting it together. So that's a hack. That's a way that you guys can kind of use this schedules. I don't know how else you have used it in the past, Mercy.
The same way. And I'm pretty old school per se
Yeah.
when it comes to that. Like I have a planner and I also use my Google calendar on my phone, but I just love to write things down and check it off. So I show that to parents as well. Like, hey, look, doesn't have, like you said, doesn't have to be pictures and print things out or purchase stuff. We could make stuff ourselves, like draw figures or even have the little kiddos like, let's draw this. Let's draw your favorite food. Let's draw food you don't like.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
draw it in the food that you don't like with the color you don't like. And
Yeah.
it kind of gets that buy-in from the clients as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you're right. Like sometimes I have parents that I work with and I'm like, hey, let's put this token system together. And they have this elaborate, beautiful token system. And sometimes it doesn't work. And I'm like, look, it's great, but it's the concept behind it. Like I've done token systems where, the child loves like happy faces. So every time that they complete a task, I'll make like a circle, then I'll make an eye, then the other eye, and then the happy mouth. And then once
Yeah.
they get the happy face, they get their backup reinforcer, right? So it can be
Yeah.
as basic as that. It doesn't have to be so pretty.
Yeah, and sometimes when you said the about the beautiful
Yeah.
schedules and visuals, sometimes too much is also not good. Like
Yeah.
if we show this big board with all these images, we might
Mhm.
not get the reaction we're expecting because it's too much to pick from,
Yeah.
too
And
much
it
going
may
on.
be overstimulating.
Yeah.
Okay. So something else is like the first then, and as we were just speaking about the token system, this also helps with motivation. I know that some people find token systems weird because they feel like it's so external and so extrinsic, but token systems maybe don't work for some people and maybe work for others. And I think it's also the motivators that we use, because we oftentimes have to use a different type of like rewards or whatever the child's working for. So we have to change that up a lot of the times. For example, let's say you absolutely love Skittles, right? Let's say that's like your favorite thing ever. Now, you're not going to clean an entire car for one Skittle. It doesn't make sense. You'll probably do it for like 2 packs of Skittles. So oftentimes we don't have like the right ratio there. And that's why it doesn't work. But it doesn't work because we just don't have the right things in place.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
I think it's important to be able to know like let's use this token system that's the visual that's there on the presentation. It has four bubbles. Sometimes we can start at two. Like let's complete two bubbles and then give them the reinforcement. We want to create that excitement, especially for ADHD, very hyper kids. They're like, I don't want to wait anymore. I don't want four, I want two, and I want it now.
Yeah. And make it something simple, right? Don't make it so hard that they just give up and they're like, forget it, we're not gonna do it. So when I start off pairing the token system, I'll start doing like, okay, arms up, good, you get a token. Let's do this. You got so make it quick so they can get that reward. And then they're like, okay, I'm now motivated, I have that momentum, and I want to continue doing things.
Yes.
All right, so moving on. So again, including preferred and non-preferred activities into the daily schedule. So here we have here we have an example. Breakfast, brush your teeth. Non-preferred is do your homework, and then you get to play outside. So one thing that I do want to say, and this is called an ABA, the grandma principle, like you want to do the difficult thing before the fun thing, because a lot of the times when I speak with parents, they're like, well, I told him that if he went outside to play, that I would allow him to go outside to play, but then he had to come here and do the homework. And I'm like, but he already had his ice cream. Why is he gonna eat his dinner? Right? And that's basically what the concept is. So remember, always the non-preferred prior to then the preferred activity.
Yes.
Questions from the people here, the participants? Any questions you guys have about this? Any scenarios you have, please share. We're here to have a chat with you and really go over those things.
Or struggles, if you're
Or
struggling
struggles, absolutely,
right
challenges,
now.
struggles, even ideas. Maybe you have ideas that have worked. Would love to hear about it. Okay, so this is, I was telling Mercy off camera about this surprise icon, which I really love using because it builds flexibility. So when you do have that schedule already there, embedding a surprise icon, which is exactly what it sounds like, right? So a little card that says surprise, or even an image that reflects that surprise. And then you would tell the child something like, okay, after brushing your teeth, we'll have a surprise and I'll show you when it's time. And then later you reveal the surprise, which can be something like, oh, we're going to water the plants. So it doesn't have to be like a super preferred thing. It doesn't have to be like a huge reward, but it could just be like a different task that it's embedded there. Why is this important? Because we know that even though we have routines, even though we have schedules, life happens, things happen. So this allows the individual to build flexibility, to be able to wait for that surprise for all of these things. Mercy, have you used this before? What do you think about this surprise icon?
So I've never used the surprise icon, so I love it and I'm gonna start using it. I'm gonna test it out. But I do like to give parents the option, okay, let's make this schedule and really provide choices to them, in like you said before, include stuff that they might not like and give our little ones a sense of some control. Imagine maybe they're in therapy, they're in school all day long, then they come out and then now it's summer and different people are telling them what to do and their school routine is gone. Now it's like they're home. So I think it's good to have these type of systems in place or ready to put them in place when summer comes across so that there isn't a regression or there isn't a new behavior that appears that was not happening before because of lack
Yes.
of some sense of structure.
Absolutely. And you just jumped into our next slide, which is this is a different way of using that surprise icon where we are allowing them to pick the surprise. So even though there's going to be an unpredictable surprise in your schedule because things happen, you get to pick whether it's wash toy animals, eat snack on the patio, or listen to music with headphones. So they get that choice and that sense of autonomy, like you said. And by the way, for children that are, tend to be a little bit oppositional or have like oppositional behaviors, providing choices is the way to go, right? So, do you want to do reading or do you want to do math? Which one do you want to do first? At the end of the day, they're going to do both, but at least you're providing them with that autonomy to decide what they want to do first.
Yes.
Okay, so reviewing the schedule. So reviewing it at wake up time and also at night. So why is it important to introduce the schedule during the day? And again, the schedule does not have to be super elaborate. It can be verbal if you want to. It can be written. It can be on an app on the phone, whatever. So in the morning routine, again, it reduces anxiety by setting expectations early. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to then have a surprise here. We're going to do this. We're going to go here. It helps kids mentally prepare for transitions. It encourages independence since they get to anticipate what's next. You can say something like, let's look at what we're going to do today. First we eat, then we brush your teeth, then whatever it is. What do you think of going over or reviewing the schedule in the morning?
I think that sets the tone perfectly for the rest of the day. And
Mhm.
then if so, let's say a behavior occurs, or no, I don't want to do that. It's always good to be like, remember, we spoke about this in the morning, we did this yesterday, and those are like little reminders that we could throw in.
And also when we use these schedules, it reduces a lot of this prompt dependency. What do we mean by this prompt dependency? Like I feel like parents sometimes are like, okay, wake up, put your shoes on, do this constantly. If you have it somewhere and you're just having the child do it, perhaps in the beginning you'll have to go through it with them, but towards the end you can start fading yourself out and they will just do it themselves based on the schedule. So we want to also reduce that because we don't want stressed parents. Stressed parents, like just don't have a good time and then, the kids like see that. So we don't want parents to be stressed. Um, and then during bedtime, it builds the predictability also for the next day. So let's review what we did today. And the next day is going to be like that. You can also work on communication during this, right? Like what were some of the things you liked today? Or let's comment on this. It creates a calming ritual to kind of wrap up the day, right? We're kind of wrapping it up.
Yeah.
And it also reinforces that sense of accomplishment. Questions about this? Oh, there's a question here. What is the benefit of reviewing the schedule? Oh, yes, at bedtime and wake time. So I just responded to your question. So anchor bedtime routines. So you want to keep bedtime rituals consistent. I know that during the summer, kids sometimes and we were just speaking about this, we all have like this internal clock. So if we get our bodies used to going to sleep at 11, we're not going to be able to go to sleep at 9, or it's going to be very difficult for us to go to sleep at 9 o'clock. So when school starts, it's very abrupt for us to just say, okay, you were going to sleep at like 10, now you have to go sleep at 8. It just makes it harder. It just makes it more
Yeah.
chaotic. So little by little, it's important to start decreasing that time or moving that time closer to the natural time that the child should go to sleep, like during the school week.
Yeah, I actually just thought of something
Yeah.
when you said the hour thing. I think a lot of people experience this when the time changes.
Yeah. Yeah.
When the time changes, I never know exactly what day that happens, but I know the time changes when I'm like, it's 8. Why does it feel like it's 11 o'clock at night? And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, the time probably changed. And sure enough, it does. It did, if I feel
Yeah.
that way. So
Yeah, absolutely. We feel it. So little by little, we have to start embedding that. Let me see another question. Does ABA work on building a schedule? Well, yes. So we work a lot on building or helping parents build a schedule. So I've worked with parents doing parent coaching. I know Mercy has as well in building or putting these schedules together because for some people it can be very easy to do it, but I know that for some parents it's a little overwhelming. It's like, where do I start and what do I put here and what
yeah.
happens? So definitely if you are working with an ABA therapist, they can definitely help you with this. That's what we're here for.
Yes.
All right. So, keeping skills fresh. So, embedding learning in everyday activities. As I mentioned, we never turn off our learning light. It's always there, it's always on. And it depends what you want your child to learn. Do you want them to just learn how to play on their video games in a corner, or do you want them to learn communication, social skills? They're going to continue learning whether we want them to learn or not. It's just a natural thing. Use natural environmental teaching, which we will go over, and daily mini goals for communication and independence. So, Mercy, what's NET? What are natural environmental training?
So I actually love teaching parents about this because sometimes they'll be like, nobody, my son or my daughter doesn't like to be told what to do. Every time they see it as a demand, they're like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not even listening to you. Watch this. Now I'm gonna run on the wall. So when we use it like this, they don't even realize that they're being taught something or they're being placed a certain demand. It kind of just goes with the flow and it's less stressful for both the little one and the parent.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. I think that, like I said, you never stop learning. So you can use this everywhere you go. Like if you're in an airport going on vacation, you can use this. I think as parents, we are always educating, and sometimes it is overwhelming, but it's everything is like, when I'm with my kids, for example, everything is like a learning time. So
Yeah.
like for example, when we go to the grocery store, we can label colors. Can you find the red apple? What color is this apple? Count. You can count 3 bananas in the bag. You can have them request, like, what do you want to buy? So there's so many things that you can practice in these environmental, in these like natural learning opportunities. And that is why ABA is so effective, because I think that we go to the child's environment, right?
Mhm.
We go to the home, we go to the schools, we take them to the park, we go everywhere because we know that you can use these skills in all these different settings.
Yes.
Cooking together, this is another example. So following directions, first pour this, then you stir. This is a great way for children to learn how to, organize their skills. So first you do this and then you do that. Identifying items. So tell me what we're making. Show me what you use to drink. What do you use to eat your food? So this is identifying functions of things. Requesting, what kind of food do you want to make next? In the park or in the backyard. So I was working with a child that was pre-verbal, and this was like years, I don't know, like maybe 7 years ago. And I remember that, he was pre-verbal, he didn't really speak, and he loved bubbles. So whenever I would grab the bubbles outside, I would have him say "buh." And then once he was able to say "buh," then I would, ask him to say "buh." And then he started saying "buh," and then bubbles. And then this child would, start just all the speech started emerging. Even when he was on the swing, right? Like I would swing him and then I would stop and he would have to say go, and I would push him and then I would wait, go, and I would do it again, right? So there's so much that can be worked on, even in the park or in the backyard. I don't know if you have any anecdotes of that, Mercy.
So that I love doing that also because it's also super reinforcing to us to see it's not always immediate reaction
Mhm.
from the little ones, but if we're like, do you want the mouse? You need the mouse right now for the computer? Yeah, okay. Anything. And since they want it, they're like, gimme, 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 gimme. They're gonna try and say something. And that's
Mhm.
even reinforcing for me. I love when I'm able to do that. I'm like, yeah, like we're both just as excited.
Right, because you're not using like random things, so they're more motivated to say it.
Yeah.
By the way, questions, questions, questions. I know that Mercy and I are just talking and we're chatting, but we would love to hear any questions. Oh, there's a question here. Do you provide testing for ADHD? Yes. So in our sister company in Crystal Mind Psychological Services, we do testing. So we do what we call mini assessments to rule out ADHD, and we use the ADOS to rule out autism, and we also do like full IQ psych eds, and also psychoeducational evaluation. So for children who may be failing school, or maybe you suspect they have dyslexia or whatever it is. So we do all those testings. If you want, you can send me a message at the end and we can definitely speak about it. So why does it work? So why setting a routine, like why is it effective? So it makes learning more meaningful and functional, right? More so when we're using this natural environmental training. It promotes generalization. We're using the skills in different places. We're not just using the skills at home, but we're using it outside of home. It helps with motivation. Kids are more engaged in play and real life settings. So the same example that Mercy gave you with the mouse, right? So kids are more likely to do these things. Like for example, when I'm working with a child who we, is just emerging in his speech and we want him to say more things, like even things like opening the door, right? Like I'll knock and then I'll look at them and expect them to say open, right? So every little opportunity can be an opportunity to really contrive those situations so so that speech can emerge.
Yes.
Okay, so practical ABA tips for the summer. So Mercy, I know I've been reading all of this, so do you want to read it for me or for
Yes.
us?
Yes. Okay. So we have behavioral momentum. So here we're starting with the easy task to build cooperation. This is really fun because we start creating some sort of excitement for the little ones, and that's how we could do it. We kind of just go up the ladder little by little. We can use timers, so this prepares kids for transitions with visual or auditory cues. You'd be amazed how many apps there is on our cell phones for timers. There's my favorite one. There's one that's like mouse timer. That I think that's the name of
Oh,
it.
I've seen that. Yeah.
And like you pick 5 minutes or 1 minute, and it's the mouse eating cheese. So by the time the mouse is done eating the cheese, boom, timer's done. And it also displays the time at the top. So it's like, okay, we have a visual, but we also are seeing the numbers go down or up, whatever it is that we're counting. And then limited choices. So offers simple choices to promote independence. This is what we were talking about earlier, that we're picking the choices that are being given to them, but we're giving that sense of control of their life a little bit for them. And then we have maintenance practice. So keep practicing mastered skills daily. This is very important because if let's say it's like when you first learn to do something, if you never do it again or you never practice it again, you're gonna forget a little bit. And you don't have like I keep saying, you don't have to have a diagnosis to forget or to not be good at it anymore. So same thing goes when we first learn or master a skill with our little ones. Good to keep doing it. And then escape options. So plan ahead for breaks in new or overwhelming places. And I guess we can do that just knowing if our routine is going to change. So if you're going on a road trip, that's when we can prepare for a road trip. Like we could do visuals. Okay, we're going to be in the car for X amount of time. That's when we can start prepping with timers. Let's get them used to timers so they have that sense of time either increasing or decreasing, whatever is happening, especially if your little ones are not in a car ride for a long time and you're about to do a road trip like to Colorado, like that's extreme. So there needs to be some sort of prepping as well.
Yeah, and I think that we are used to saying little ones because the majority of the kiddos that we work with are little ones, right? But this is applicable for every child, for teens, for everyone. And definitely like anticipating challenges is really, really important. I would say that that's one of the most important things for us to anticipate these challenges and be prepared. Some parents are like, well, my child doesn't wait. And when I try to teach him wait, well, the issue is that you try to teach them wait in situations where you have no control of the outcome, where the waiting is very extended. So instead of waiting to get to that situation where now you're teaching them to wait, but it's like all chaotic, start teaching them little by little. So something as simple as, let's say they're going to color, right? You hold the color and you say, okay, wait, let's do a quick 5-second countdown, and then you give them the color. That way they start understanding the concept of wait. So when you get to these other situations, well, now they understand the concept of wait.
Yes.
Okay, and we're already at the end of our presentation. Thank you all for the questions. I know that our group has been a little smaller than usual because it's summer, so I get it. But that's why we're going to record this and we're going to send it out for those of you who came in a little after we started. No worries, it will be recorded so you can watch it. And just a little, quick reintroduction. So here are a couple of ways that you can find us, that you can contact us. So by phone, 786-269-3502. By email, you have my email here, and I really wanted to make sure that it was .com, so I put it twice, but it's info@cmnptherapy.com. And then, of course, you can follow us on Instagram in Crystal Minds. Also, I know that some of you came through the direct link. So if you do use this QR code, you can be part of our newsletter, and that way you can get the recording of this awesome webinar. And by joining our newsletter, you'll also get the webinars that we do every month. So I'll open it up to a brief question. And as I do that, you guys can put the questions here on the chat, or you can just unmute yourselves and speak, and we'll try to answer whatever questions you have. I do want to thank Mercy for being here. So Mercy, can you tell us again what you're doing at Crystal Minds?
Yes. So I'm really excited, like I said earlier, to be able to be a part of the opening up of a new location in West Palm Beach. So I will be the BCBA and just doing a little bit of everything, but the purpose is to be able to start servicing in West Palm.
And we already started servicing there, so we hope to build the same kind of, momentum, the same kind of, thing that we've had already for 15 years in Doral and in Pines. And now in West Palm, we have a couple of clients there, so we're really excited about that. But definitely, if you guys have any other follow-up questions, hi Diana, send us an email, message us, whatever it is. And again, this is going to be recorded. We will be sending it out probably this week for those of you who are not able to come. Mercy, thank you so much for being part of this. Thank you for coming, for
Having
sharing your wealth of knowledge, and for doing this.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to keep doing them.
All right, guys. Well, have a great night, and we will see each other on the next webinar.
Okay.